I've had a story on my mind recently, which is kind of interesting because I had always felt somewhat left out, not feeling Baba's vibes on his bed in the bedroom in Myrtle Beach in particular. Other places, is it my imagination causing this or what's up? But so one of the very first gatherings in Southern California, they have these gatherings every year, and I lived in Northern California and would go down there, or later I would go in from other places, New Mexico even. But so in one of the early ones, I'm sitting around a table with Phyllis Fredericks, or at least a number of you are familiar with Phyllis Fredericks, who was head of the Baba group there for a long time and been under Baba's direct orders, a very psychic woman. And then she was walking with a cane at that time. And I start just kind of idly fiddling with her cane. I guess I was sitting right across the table from her or next to her. And I just feel this incredible, strong and beautiful vibration coming out of the handle of that cane. And I thought, wow, I got to start paying more attention to this woman. She can leave that vibration. And as soon as I had that thought, Mark Murray, he was known as then, but Mark Carr now in Myrtle Beach, comes into the room from the other room and says, "That was Baba's cane, wasn't it?" And then, so my conscious, Baba's, it was great because it was Baba's very strong, incredibly beautiful vibration without any suggestion having been put in my mind first that this was from Baba, And then Phyllis told the whole story of the cane, which was kind of interesting. She was extremely attached to this cane. She was in India. This would have been, I don't know what year, but earlier the meeting I was talking about would have been early 1970s, so sometime before that. And she was really, really anxious to see Baba's Kamal coat. What's the coat called that's all patched that he said would be the life of a saint in the display room?
Yeah, in the museum room, yeah.
In the museum room. And as she was going down the steps, she was so anxious to see it that she stumbled and fell and broke one of her big toes. And because she broke that toe and then it was hard for her to walk, Mara loaned her this cane that had been Baba's cane. And then so she got to take this cane that Baba had, pressed his hand against like over and over as he had walked with this cane. So it was just an incredible object that she had. And then, although Mara had loaned it to her, she was so attached to this that she just kept it till the end of her life. And she was very, very concerned that it was going to go back to Marabad, but only after she died. And she had like notes attached to it that, send it back. Of course, she had a number of Baba lovers surrounding her, knowing this whole story. But yeah, that's my story. One of the most impressive things to me about Baba is his ability of leaving really beautiful vibrations behind. I mean, the whole center is like saturated with the kind of spiritual vibration in my mind. Myrtle Beach Center.
Yeah. Beautiful. And so he slipped into your consciousness through a side door, and you
because I was just idly playing with this cane that was in front of me, like nervous hands picking something up.
Yeah.
And there was this incredible vibration.
Yeah. This was Phyllis Frederick, who was one of the early younger people with Narina and Elizabeth, and in New York. She eventually went to California.
Yeah, she was a great example of a bhakti yoga. I mean, meetings at her little house were all just joyous, singing songs, and just a lot of joyous bliss with meetings with Phyllis. Yeah.
Yeah. Phyllis was the kind of person you could listen to her for 3 straight days and
Yeah.
you would never get tired because she had such unique and interesting things to say. You know, because she had a different camera angle that from most of us.
Yeah.
But she and Adele, used to be Adele Walken, were
Phil Adele, didn't they?
good. And Baba used to call him Phil Adele when he sent cables.
Exactly. Yeah.
Phyllis and Adele.
Yeah. They were in together like that.
Yeah.
Phil Adele.
Yeah. Alan, you got anything on the menu there? Turning the wheel of a car and just ending it all. That was, you know, some years prior to this accident happening. And then it and then it happened. I mean, this accident happened, a very unusual accident. And when he was when Erich went to see Baba after the accident, Baba would go like this, you know, and Erich would feel terrible. And then, but Baba would say, "Do you think this couldn't that this could have happened without my will?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so he had the, you know, one time, Money. One of the few questions she asked Baba was, you know, they rarely would ask questions, but this was one that she had always wondered: how is it that Peter denied Jesus 3 times? We probably know, people probably know that from the Bible. You know, when they came looking for Jesus, Peter on 3 occasions said he didn't know. I think he even denied knowing Jesus. And so Mani asked Baba, why did Peter deny Jesus 3 times? And I mean, this isn't the exact words, but the remorse, I'm paraphrasing, the remorse that he felt for having denied Jesus 3 times is what inspired his lifelong dedication to Jesus, just to make up for having denied Jesus. And this same thing like this, you know, that I kind of thought that even though Baba said that he couldn't have done it without his will, Erich still was the driver and he felt responsible. And that may have had the same effect of getting him to pour out the rest of his life in service to Baba.
Well, I also heard that when Erich first came to visit Baba, you know, all bundled up and recovering from the accident, Baba's words were, "Now are you satisfied?" I mean, he rubbed it in before he.
Yeah. Yep.
told him. But there's also, I love this story of a woman going up Seclusion Hill with Erich much later in Erich's life. And Erich gets near the top and he just is paused for a moment in great contemplation. And the woman asked him, what is it that you think about Bob at this time? I'm not getting the story right, but I'm getting the gist of it. And Erich said, absolutely everything in my relationship with Baba was perfect. You know, everything he did was perfect for Erich. So all the rubbing in of the salt and the teasing and everything, all was for Erich's benefit in the end, the way he looked at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of that story, that dream that I forgot. Sorry, I forgot. I think it was Buck Busfield was telling about the sand being thrown in people's faces.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one where he saw, I guess, the Mondley lined up and Baba was going one by one and throwing sand in their faces, and when it came to Erich, he like threw really hard sand in his face, and then it came to his turn, Baba just kind of threw a sprinkle at his face.
Yeah. Buck
That's what.
is on the board here somewhere, but he's
Yeah,
back
I
in the
see. I see
twilight
his little
zone.
square, but I don't know if he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
In fact, it's nice to be memorialized in a dream. But I just thought of something a story related to Baba's accident, since that's what we're talking about, and his recovery. I was raised in Lansing, Michigan. My sister was working at a hospital there, and she wasn't a Baba lover. Eventually, she went to India with me. This is early mid-70s or so. And she came home from work one day. I was staying with her for a while, and she said, "Oh, the emergency room surgeon operated on Mayor Baba," and this is in Lansing, Michigan. And I said, "Well, you've got to tell me who this guy is."
Yeah.
And she said, "He's Indian. His name's Dr. Bansod, and he's from Pune." And I said, "Oh," I started to connect the dots. I said, "I have to interview this fellow." And so my sister arranged the meeting, and I went down to the hospital. He was on break, and I took a notepad. It was pre-digital. And I interviewed him, and I asked him questions. And he said, "First thing I need to tell you, I'm a Christian. I don't follow Mayor Baba, but I will tell you what happened." And briefly, Baba was brought, he had a private 2-bed nursing home, Dr. Bansod in Pune. And he was simultaneously the director of surgery, orthopedic surgery at Sassoon Hospital. But he had a private 2-bed hospital, and the beds were in the same room. And he said Mayor Baba came in. I don't know if he was treated in an ER before that, but he became his patient. And he told me it was a very matter-of-fact telling. He didn't have anything sensational to say, except he did say there were 3 things that he remembered most of all. First of all, the Mandali were lovely people and very helpful. And he remembered Dr. Donkin, he remembered Dr. Goher. And then he said that he had to perform surgery on Baba's hip. I think it was his hip. I don't know if that's where the surgery was done. But he said he took his anesthesia like a child, like a baby. He said he took it like a baby. He just went out. And he said, I was certain when he would come out of anesthesia, he'd start talking. He said, because people are unaware of what they're doing. And he said he maintained silence throughout that. And then finally he said he had to come tell Baba he had to leave. He said, because this revolving door of people coming to visit him was disturbing his other patient who was recovering from something. And Baba immediately said, of course, absolutely, we must vacate immediately. And he said of the whole experience, Baba was there for a week or so. He said what impressed him most of all was that they could find accommodations for him in 24 hours. He said, because in Pune, it was impossible to find accommodations, and they found a place for him. So I wrote all this down, and
Wow.
And I told Kitty about it. Kitty said, type it up. I typed up, and interestingly, Jeff, you corrected my spelling. It was decades ago. I don't remember. But I just remember this fellow sitting in Lansing, Michigan, a surgeon who had this incredibly intimate experience with Mayor Baba.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah.
What a great connection. Yeah. Wow.
And interestingly, then my sister who was a nurse, interestingly went, and when I pestered her to go to India with me, and she finally relented, had a wonderful time after she got over the culture shock, but she became very protective of Dr. Goher and worked in the dispensary. So she had some exposure.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I haven't met your sister. Does she still live up in Michigan?
She lives here in Sacramento, California.
Oh, okay.
She's retired.
Yeah.
Doing well.
Wait, so Buck, are you saying that doctor like cut into Bob's body?
He said he performed surgery on him, is what he said. Now,
Do you know which part of his body?
I don't know, because I know he had a hip problem, but he had other things that could have been on his face. I know he cut his mouth and.
Right, his nose is broken.
I don't remember. I don't know. Come to think of it, I might have written that down. I'll check and see how. Yeah.
Wow.
This was not the accident surgery, right? This was after the accident or before the accident? The Satara accident, I mean.
This was the Satara accident.
Okay, this was the Satara accident. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my camera cut out there, or actually my internet cut out. I didn't get to hear what you were. I just kind of came in the middle of your story, Jeff. But was there any response to that moment when I was describing Erich turning the wheel?
You mean the effect it had on Erich?
Well, I just wanted to know if that was an actual thing, if anybody else has heard that, or if that's something that somebody just kind of mentioned it as no basis in facts or reality. Just the fact that Erich was beaten down to the point where he was just so emotionally desolate.
This is before the accident.
Right before the the wheel, whatever it did.
The only thing I remember is Erich saying over the years that he was so exhausted that sometime he would just feel like if he could just turn the wheel and just end it all. But
Wow.
I know that was something he expressed even I think in front of Baba long before the accident, but not.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if on the very day he did that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
I don't know, interesting. If you know, interestingly, December 2nd is the accident day. That's just 2 days away. Now we are on November 30th. So December 2nd is the accident.
That was 2 days. It's 2 days from now?
Yeah, 2 days from now.
Wow.
December 2nd, 5 p.m.
3 days for us.
Okay.
3 days for us.
And Angela, what did you say there?
Oh, the 2-hour documentary that Oklahoma Bob Fredericks made. That the center shows,
Uh-huh.
Not a lot of people have seen it because it's not readily available. It's not available on YouTube yet, and we're getting a chance to show it. It's called An Act of God.
An Act of God, and this is on the 2nd of December?
We're going to show it on the 5th because we've got
Okay.
a lot going on the 2nd.
Okay, so the 5th.
We actually have so much going on this week. I don't know if everyone's keeping abreast, but there's a Kitty Davy memorial because she passed away on the 3rd, and an Elizabeth memorial because she passed on the 6th of December. So it's all next week, and then the 5th is the accident celebration or anniversary, I guess, and the 4th is Josephine Esther Ross. So we've got a lot going on.
Many things coming up.
Many good things.
Yeah. It keeps Lanita out of trouble because she tends to kind of drift if you don't have these things that she has to keep watching. Keeps her on the right track. Hey, Mara, Mara, any stories that come to mind that you feel like sharing, or? But no pressure.
I'm
a terrible storyteller, but I don't really. No.
But when you met Baba at age 3, you don't remember any of that, do you?
I remember waiting for him where in front of the porch. I had this memory. I never saw that film until I was in my 40s, I think, 30s or 40s. And I had this memory before I saw the film of running up and down in front of the porch. And the memory I have is of the women mandali saying, Baba's going to come out, Baba's coming, he's going to come out. So there was this anticipation of him coming onto the porch. And I remember that. And then when I see the film, I see my little head right there in front of the porch, kind of walking up and down. So it kind of, it matched with my memory.
Yeah.
I don't remember much else. I do remember Baba finally being there. And there's film of us all standing up there, but I don't recall any of that.
That was what with the Navjoti ceremony?
Navjot.
Yeah.
Just Navjot, yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently, so 4 of my brother and 3 of my cousins were having their Navjot done by Baba. And I inserted myself into it because I was really young and I didn't want to be left out. So I stood on the end. And according to my aunts and uncles, Baba kind of, cursorily did whatever he did to the other 4 to me. So, but I don't have much more memory of it than that.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 1968, December of 1968.
That's the last film taken of Baba. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the same weekend as Amritandara's wedding, and yeah.
You see a little girl up there, and I recognize your mom at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Meruk, Rayoman, and Mirnaz.
Yeah.
They were very fortunate.
Yeah. And I read a poem, kind of a poem that a woman wrote who had met Baba when she was 7. Beautiful. But I read it today, and most of these people were at the Effort and Grace, so they have already heard it. Well, maybe I will read it, because it might have been kind of your experience without your remembering it.
Yeah.
This is a little girl that met Baba in 1952 when she was 7 years old. So this is what she writes. So this is Rosie Richards. Now she's the daughter of Josephine and Kenneth Ross. And Kenneth Ross met Baba in 1931 in England. He's the one that's, you see the photograph of him playing the bagpipes as Baba was going to East Chalacombe. And her mother, that's Josephine Ross, she met Baba there at Harmon on Hudson. She was just 23. And Rosie met Baba when she was 7. So I'll read it. I was 7. Do I remember? Oh yes, forever. All time ceased. I walked into a great circle of light and complete protection. No one, no thing, no sound, only the essence and the voice of the Silent One. How could that be? What did he say? Where was I? Enclosed in light, where no harm could penetrate. No harm. I was lifted up. The circle of light was beyond where I could see. Great love light blinded me with the enormity of this happening. I was 7. Do I understand now how incredible this event was on eternity's clock? Have problems vanished? No. Have challenges eluded me? No. Do I cry? Yes. Tears of joy, fear, love, hope for the less sensitive humanity. Have I been hurt? Yes, deeply by many people. Am I vulnerable? Oh, yes, vulnerable to the pain my physically and mentally fragile family have endured. Vulnerable to the horror of man harming man and to anger and unkindness in our world. Why have I been so blessed? I have this knowing. I have love. I am so small. He is so great. What can I give? The only gift worth sharing, that in all the turmoil, misunderstandings, confusions, mistakes, wars, tumult, there is hope, there is love. How can I be so brazen? I have a responsibility because I glimpsed God, the Lord Meher. He is real. I sat on the lap of God.
Wow.
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 It's just too good. Awesome.
Wow.
That might have been your experience, Mara, but you don't remember it. A little girl coming into Baba's presence.
I would give anything to remember that.
Yeah. Wow.
Jeff, I have something.
Yeah, good.
So today is like what you call Guru Nanak Jayanti over here, which means the perfect. What Guru Nanak is the Guru of the Sikhs, and Baba said he is a perfect master. He was a perfect master. Okay, and then he wrote this prayer, which was I think in Hindi Punjabi, which says "Tum Thakur Tum Pe Hardas." Okay, which is a very profound one, and Baba said he liked it. It was his favorite lines. So I just want to read the English translation.
Yeah. Let's see it. We got to see the rest of your whole face.
I'm not visible. I'm here, visible.
Yeah, just the upper part of you. Yeah.
Is it?
The thinking part of you.
Ah,
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So here are those. Here is the translation in English, like the one which Baba liked. You are our master. To you, I offer this humble prayer. This body and soul are all your belonging. You are our mother and father, and we are your children. In your grace, we experience ultimate peace. No one knows your infinite vastness. O highest of the high, most generous God, the whole creation is strung on your thread. That which has come from you is in your will. You alone know your existence and vastness. Nanak, your slave, is forever surrendering to you. This is the prayer that he wrote, and this were Baba's favorite lines.
Wow, beautiful. Can you read it once again?
Sure. You are our master. To you, I offer this humble prayer. This body and soul are all your belonging. You are our mother and father, and we are your children. In your grace, we experience ultimate peace. No one knows your infinite vastness. O highest of the high, most generous God, the whole creation is strung on your thread. That which has come from you is in your will. You alone know your existence and vastness. Nanak, your slave, is forever surrendering to you.
Wow.
Huh.
So Baba had these lines recited by Daulat Singh during the New Life.
Mhm.
So
each other.
Yeah.
And second of all, he had to make
and
every
today this is birthday celebration,
Yeah.
something like 550th or something, that sort of.
they would be there for him.
So I thought of sharing this with
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Baba.
And all the people and
Mayor Prasada, you got anything on tap
Yeah.
over there
I
besides
do.
Michelob? No.
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
This is a Hafiz poem that Baba translated, and it was versified by Francis and read during the East-West gathering. So I'll read this out. It goes, although you have not received love's guerdon, one day this desert will become a garden. So be not grieved. Do not turn your heart away, nor expostulate against the beloved, but bear your present state, and be not grieved. Let this disgusted mind and troubled heart be stilled. One day desire for union will be fulfilled, so be not grieved. Behind the curtain, a secret game is being played that you know not, so don't give up nor be dismayed or grieved. Once you have set out for the beloved's abode, do not let mere stones and thorns turn you from the road, or be much grieved. Maya will do her best to thwart you from your labor. But when you have a captain like Noah, you will reach safe harbor. So be not grieved. When this friend is the same as God, don't plague him with petitions, but suffer gladly love's rules, trials, and conditions, and be not grieved. May God not give to my enemies the hardship this friendship with the friend has given me. That's it.
Wow. I wonder, Alan, can you get Jim Meyer singing that on your equipment there? Jim Meyer sings that song.
Well, which one?
Be Not Grieved by Jim Meyer.
Yeah, let me see here. I'll take a second.
While you're doing that, we'll look around here. Let's see. We got Payam is here, and Marion is here. Priya. Sham was here earlier. I saw him. Namita. This is a beautiful song that. There's Sham.
Yes, I am there, but I am the audience only.
Yeah.
No, not the speaker.
And Dinesh, we got Dinesh. From below, he looks like some of the photographs of Baba. That angle right there.
Yeah, he does. And also
Yeah, Baba.
a combination of Gustaji and Baba.
Yeah.
Okay, so I found several Jim Meyer concerts, but the concerts themselves are not just like the songs are not distinguished.
But he has done some albums. I wonder.
Yeah, I can't seem to find that on my end. Maybe anybody else can find that. Be Not Grieved.
Yeah,
Jim.
darn
I
it.
can't find that particular song.
Okay, Google, play Be Not Grieved by Jim Myers.
Yeah. Can someone play it?
No, I can see these concerts just like Alan, you are seeing.
No, I didn't hear him play it on all of his concerts. I haven't heard him play this, but
You have to put in a request. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything coming up on YouTube here. Be not grieved.
It starts out, although you have not received love's burden, one day this desert will become a garden. So be not grieved, be not grieved. Goes like that. But it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only song that I see that they delineate is I Will Never Leave You.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I could. Anybody else come up with anything else?
No, not yet.
You know, one thing I brought up in Effort and Grace is, I mean, Baba, Baba says it's all an illusion, it's all a dream, and it can kind of turn you off if this is all a dream, all an illusion. What are you going to do with it? And so of course, one of the things that Baba says is that whatever we do, we should in this world we should do wholeheartedly. So even though this is all just a dream, it's perfectly fine to express love in this dream. But otherwise, if you he says to be detached from this dream, and sometimes if you're detached, you can come off as being cold and indifferent. But this is a different. The Mandali, they were so loving and so they could give the love to all of us and everything, and yet they weren't attached. But I don't know how you folks feel about what your feeling is about that phrase. Bob is saying that this is all an illusion.
Well, I believe he says it's a dream, but it has a purpose. It has the divine purpose of
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
experiencing the separation from God in order that eventually we can appreciate God from having that separation. So it's a dream, but it's not
yeah,
useless. It's not meaningless. It's very meaningful.
It's the stage set for a divine journey, you might say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Game of the lover and the beloved.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I had a question actually that I was just about to ask you right as you were bringing that up, actually, which is on today when in that chapter of what is it? Let's see, page 17, total loss is gain. Our illusory life is a vacant dream, and Meher Baba has explained that drawing closer to God is the only endeavor that has real value. And then he goes on to say, that's so funny. You brought up the topic exactly what I was about to ask you. But he says this part about so disentangling oneself from the false, inviting the real into our being, opening to the truth within. This is in contrast to the psychological work of trying to get rid of our painful sanskaric patterns in order to create a pleasant experience in illusion, trying to harmonize with our sanskaras. Now that part was what caught me, and I'm wondering if you could give a specific example what that might look like, and particularly I had a feeling or a thought of when he said that of like, oh, maybe that's what I've been doing, and why sometimes when I feel like I'm giving things to Baba, it might actually be me kind of trying to harmonize and live in both the shadow and with Baba at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, Patty.
Hello.
We got Eugene, Oregon here.
Yeah, Jay Baba.
well, what I always felt when Darwin brought up that is harmonizing with your sanskaras. There are a lot of people that are kind of somewhat happy in the world because everything is all right. They got a good job, they got a nice house and everything. They've harmonized with their sanskaras, but there's no divine longing. There's no longing for the divine in there. And if you're not careful, I mean, mental comfort is one of the major goals of most people. But then if you get your mental comfort, you may not grow spiritually. So harmonizing, like what happens is someone has a nice, comfortable life going, and then suddenly the divine intersects with their life. And then then everything gets disturbed. But that disturbance is what initiates this search for the divine. So, like a lot of therapists tell me, they work to get someone back emotionally balanced, kind of dealing with their past and everything. But if they just use that to go on and live a successful life or a comfortable life, it's only a matter of time before they relapse again. Because they don't come to that emotional or psychological balance and then strike out for the divine. They just go forward with the life in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, like the example would be for me, I feel a sense of just intuitively and just in my gut that I'm not necessarily working to dissolve or give these things to Baba when, let's say, for example, I don't know what example to give. Like, just, let's say if I do the prayer of repentance or something, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm mean to somebody, or I just kind of, and then I'm like, oh well, I just can do a prayer of repentance again, and I'll be clear for that. It's just like exchanging in your mind. You're just playing these games, so you could keep doing the thing. I think this happens in religion, unfortunately, as well. It's like
Yeah.
you just kind of do the thing, you live your life, you don't really change or challenge or go into the things that you really need to look at because you're comfortable, and you're like, well, Baba made me do it, so yeah, and you just kind of throw it like that, and I feel like that sense for me gets me. It just feels kind of, I don't know, just it feels. I can feel the difference. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah, although I think that you got the bug. It's in your blood to
Yeah.
go for broke. We're that's the you're not you might be able to get a couple of vacations along the way, but it's oh, Lanita, she's her bedtime.
Bye, Lenita.
Yeah. See you. Mwah.
Jay Baba.
Yeah. But no, there is an urge that Baba keeps activating in you, so that if you're seeking comfort, and it's not a comfort that's going to help you on your journey, uh, Baba has a way of putting a little sand in your favorite spinach casserole.
For me, it's rice pudding.
Or a little eggshell on your favorite omelet.
Yeah.
Never can't quite embrace it fully.
That's a really painful process, Jeff. That coming to that. I mean, some of these things are like the key comfort zones that kept me feeling this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. This is how I live for so many, I mean, for so many years. And then to have them, I could taste it. It's like some ingredient that Bob has added where I'm like, this doesn't give me the same thing anymore. But that's a quite painful process to the ego, I guess. But I mean, I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah.
I mean, does anybody else know what I'm talking about? It's like you come to these places where you're like, this is something that I have utilized for years to feel safe in the world or have some, this was how I held my perspective, and now the foundation of this perspective is being dissolved, and I'm trying to hold on and keep things from sinking into the ground, and it's like you just can't hold on to these things that you felt were so important. I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite, I mean, sometimes it's fast and painless, and other times it's like Baba's, I just have such a hard head with some of these things. Like I'm just not willing to let it go, and I fail again and again and again and again, and I don't see the end of it, of failing.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No, it's I once asked I mean, I don't know, this is kind of remotely related to what you're saying, but I once asked Bal Kalchuri. I said, you know, how did I put it? Baba was, you know, he could like ignore you or find fault with you or just make things difficult for you. And, you know, and if he had done that to me, it would be very hard for me to kind of keep my mood and be able to go on and serve Baba. What was the attitude that you and the Mandali had to have in order to be able to continue serving Baba in spite of his criticism and his jabs and his blastings, so to speak? And he said, this is the attitude that you had to have around Baba. Whether you are right or you are wrong, you are always wrong. Now,
that is this one famous line.
And what he said is, and then he said, if you were ever really right, you would no longer be here. But the ego can perpetuate itself through being right or being wrong. It perpetuates itself through either one. So anyway, that's only kind of remotely related, as I realize as I say it.
No, that really that struck a chord of understanding for me.
And just one line to add in that, this reminds of that famous line: all glory is my master's and all mistakes are mine.
Yeah. That's the way the Mandali used to view it.
All glory is my master's and all mistakes are mine.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's why in stories that you read, like in Love Alone Prevails, Kitty was talking about, you know, when Baba would visit some place and right as he's about to leave, right at the very end, he'd kind of bring up some stuff like two people fighting about whose camera, you know, who owns that camera, and it just would become such a huge deal, and then he would use it to kind of show a spiritual value to creating harmony in the situation, and then everybody would be like, wow, thank you, Baba, and then he would fly off. I mean, but this would happen again and again, where he would just bring up this emotional turmoil. Yeah, that seems.
Baba didn't have as put as much negative value on conflict. I mean, when he would be at Lower Mehrabad with the men, and then he would come up the hill to join the women. And one of the first things he would do is he would go like this. Okay, who's fighting today? You find out who, you know, the two who are in conflict, and then they would have to be brought together. And they would have it out, you know, yelling at each other and everything like that. This would be like the entertainment, you might say. I can't say entertainment, but this would be the subject of the afternoon. And I remember Rano saying that the longest journeys that she's ever taken, at the end of these conflicts and these open conflicts, at the end, they would have to walk over and embrace each other. And she said some of the longest walks she ever took, longest and loneliest walk she ever took, was to go over and embrace somebody that she had just been having these terrible conflict with. you know,
That's rough.
this was all fodder for, you know, for the for the day's lecture, you might say.
Yeah,
Not only
that sounds pretty rough.
Yeah, you couldn't keep anything hidden. He just brought it up.
he would
Memories.
deliberately bring up the conflicts between people. Especially, I think he enjoyed the conflict between Baidul and Kaka quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that episode where they were, you know, they were talking about musts, and Baba instigated both of them against each other, against Kaka and Baidul, and they got really worked up, and Baidul had these teeth, the artificial teeth in his mouth, and he got into a state where he was really yelling and scolding, and in the middle of all that, his teeth fell out, and he would when they fell out, he bent down and put them back in, and he started event again. Baba would instigate him more and more, and this happened 2 or 3 times where the teeth fell down, and he kept putting them back in, and you
But
know,
with the
going.
dirt on it too. Fell right in the dirt, and he just put them back in and continue the argument. Yeah. Patty, have you got any recollections of stories with the mandali that come to mind?
Well, I was thinking when Alan was asking that, I'm just going to say Jai Baba to everybody.
Yeah.
I watch you guys always on the recording, and this is rare that I tune in now, but I've watched every single one of them. So I feel like I know everybody, which is weird. You know, I want to say that for me, there's always a place inside myself where I feel like I'm very much holding on against Baba's urging me to let go of something, and it's shown up over and over and over. One time with Padre in in 82, this was before Padre left, and I was there for 6 months, and I was very about myself, and I just couldn't understand the spirituality stuff. I mean, really, I was very lost in everybody talking about spirituality, and I couldn't feel any of it. And I was there for a while, and you'd think it would like connect somewhere. And I'd been coming to India since 73. It wasn't that I heard about Baba in 69. So I felt like, but I was just, I don't know how long Alan's been aware of Baba, but this place inside myself is I just wanted to be done with all of it. And I didn't know how to be done with the worldly part, who I was and my attachment to myself. And so I actually got up in the middle of dinner in the lower PC and just raged at everybody and ran out. And I had just lost it, and evidently it got back to Padre. And I actually, I think that night I went to town and had a beer or something, and I came back in a rickshaw, and Padre the next morning called me in, and he ranted and raved to me and cursed at me, and I was shocked. And he was, you have no faith, you have no faith. You go off, you have no idea what is here. And he would just went on and on. Got interrupted with somebody who was ill, you stay there, then comes back and does it again. But what that made me feel, I don't know what happened in those moments when you have those moments of total humiliation and realizing, I mean, I realized I couldn't do any of this stuff to think about loving God and being worthy of his love and all the things that go through your mind when you're young and you don't know anything, and you don't even know you've been on the path for these lives, And so it took a while for me to kind of pick myself up off the floor, crawl out of there, literally, sit with myself, and totally humiliated. But I don't even understand it till now, to be honest with you, what happened. And I would say now, Baba was just shaking the stuff out of me. And not that I continued to stop everything right away, but slowly I understand that it's him. He knows me. He's going to wake me up. I'm not going to wake me up. I'm going to look towards him for help, and I'm going to do everything I can to lay it at his feet, because I can't do it. I mean, I know I can't do it. I mean, I'm reading this book again with you guys. I love it. Darwin says we can all be there. I'm practicing it, but still there's this huge part of me that goes, really? You know, because I scream, just like you say, Alan, or I'll yell it one more minute, I'm just really loving, and the next minute out comes things out of my mouth that I have no idea where they even came from. So I will crawl back to Baba on my hands and knees and lay my head at his feet and just say, okay, you made me like this. Help me out here. You know, I'm your dropped soul dream. So do something about it. So this is what happens to me. You know, it's an ongoing thing, and it's a moment to moment. It's daily. And now when you have so much more time to think about it, being home and being retired, it's difficult to even deal with myself at this point. So the Mandali did help. Being in the presence of them was remarkable. And we still have all that presence in everybody that's around us that reflects that back to us. So I don't think you have to have met the Mandali. I don't think you have to have been there, because I think they're all going to come back, and they're here. So I don't know if that helps anybody or anything, but
Beautiful.
that's what I could offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Thanks, Patty.
No,
Yeah.
lovely.
thanks.
No, it's beautifully expressed. And yeah, we go through these things for sure. Sometime I'll get Buck to talk about when he was working as a waiter in New York, and the place was robbed. But I won't let you have to go through that.
They did.
That's for a later date. But
Yeah.
I will tell you what Patty said. It tickled me, but what really was sweet was that I'm your drop soul. You created me. Do with it what you will, and it's easy to forget he has a responsibility to us.
Yeah, he created us. If he's got a problem with us, well, who's to blame?
It was a lovely insight.
Beautiful.
Patty.
Telly, what were you going to say something, Telly?
Yeah, I went to share your books and found Jim Meyer's Journey of the Heart CD. So
Yeah.
cut 6 on that is Be Not Grieved.
Are you able to? Either
Anybody else have it? I don't have it.
either Alan can. It's Journey of the Heart. Can you access that?
Yeah, I could try, but it may be that I have to buy the CD physically. Let me check online.
Oh, I'll buy it. I'll buy it for you.
Here. So what was the album called?
Journey
of the Heart.
Journey of the Heart.
Journey of the Heart.
I actually have that. I heard that, and I was going to tell you, but I couldn't remember which one it was on. Yeah.
It's cut 6.
But while we're waiting, Dinko is going to sing.
Beautiful.
You know what used to happen with the Mandali, that you would be sitting around with them and they'd say, hey, you tell a joke, or you sing a song. And you couldn't exactly say, well, I don't want to sing a song. You sang. They just...
Yeah, it looks like there's not a downloadable version that I can find. You'd have to.
Telly, you've got it there, but I don't know if you could play it at all, or.
No, I just saw it listed under Jim Meyer's CDs, and that they had a listing of all the cuts on that album. And
Yeah.
there it was.
Yeah, if he had his CD downloaded on like iTunes or something, I could buy the individual song and then play
Yeah.
it. But unfortunately, a lot of these I've been noticing, like Ruth sent me recently a CD of what's his name, Charles Gibson,
Yeah.
because I couldn't find the particular song, and so she's like, "Oh, well, you're not going to find it anywhere. You got to get the physical CD." And I was like, "Oh man, well that's got to get updated.
Yeah.
We got to get a digital system going here." Yeah, I unfortunately have to order the CD and wait for it to be delivered. But there are plenty of his concerts on YouTube, and I'm sure I could
Yeah. He
find
just
it.
has, I haven't heard him play that song, which I liked very much. I like a lot of his
Mhm.
older songs,
Yeah.
especially. I mean, they were classics that we grew up with, you might say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Feel like
Yeah,
it.
there's some videos on YouTube of him talking in like the 80s here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You know, I once, some of you have heard this, but I was there in Mondley Hall, a number of us sitting around, and there was like a little pause, and in the discussion or whatever, and I said to Erich, you know, we all know how Baba treated Bao Kalchuri. He would, you know, always find fault with him. Bao couldn't do things, never could do anything right, and he would ignore him for months together. How did you relate to Baba? How did Baba relate to you? What was your relationship? And Erich said, Baba was always very good to me. I had self-knowledge. Inside I thought, Erich, what are you saying? But immediately said, I knew that I was a scoundrel. And whenever I did anything wrong, I knew. And I would look over at those all-knowing eyes of Baba's, and I knew that he knew. So what was there to say? He had that, and it's not that, and he wasn't just being kind of cute about saying I was a scoundrel. I mean, he but what I gathered from them in that moment is that if not for Baba, Erich is just a scoundrel. I mean, he's always going to be selfish. But then you put Baba into Erich, and then you get this very loving guy. And he kind of knew that, you know, that his basic nature was selfish, self-preservation. But because of Baba, but you know, so anytime he was acting out of Erich, he knew if Baba called him on something, he knew that he must have been acting from Erich rather than from Baba through Erich. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, but it's funny because when he said, I knew that I was a scoundrel, inside I thought, well, I don't know. I would say I'm mostly a decent guy. I'm a little bit of a scoundrel, but I'm mostly a decent guy. And to that extent, I don't know myself. And I began kind of following my motives back and back and back, and I found I was much more selfish than I realized, and it kind of affected my self-esteem for a while, for some years. And I never did get to the point where I would call myself a scoundrel. I have more miles to go, you might say. But yeah.
well, when you were with like Erich, for example, Jeff, was it always that you had the sense of, I mean, I don't know, not always, but were you ever around Erich and talking to him and the particular subject he was bringing up, or maybe even the way that the vibes felt was just it felt like uncomfortable and unsettling, and like you just didn't feel Bob for any miles around. You just were like, this feels really weird. Like, did he ever have a moment like that, or was it always kind of a comfortable home
Yeah,
like
no,
family environment?
I always felt he was coming from Baba.
Hmm.
I didn't have any problem with what he said. If I had problems it was with myself.
Mm.
But I'll give you a kind of an idea of how Erich would convey something. I was there when Kitty, when Elizabeth passed on. Jane Haynes became the director of the center, and people started giving her flowers and making a big deal of her and everything, and it kind of bothered me. I mean, they're putting her up on a pedestal, and this was kind of bothering me. I just felt like too much attention was being given there, and it wasn't, and I'm here on the center, so it's kind of, it affects the atmosphere. So I brought this up with Erich. It was bothering me, and he didn't say anything, and there were some other people around the room, and later on we were sitting side by side in Mondley Hall with our backs to the wall, and he turns to me and says, maybe you would like people to bring you flowers. And wow, I
Right.
got it. It's only disturbing me because, I mean, he just said maybe, but that really cured that whole thing. I didn't have a problem with that again. But that's kind of how he would sometimes say maybe you ought to do this, Jeff.
I mean, how did it strike you when he was looking at you in that moment, and he's looking at you in the eyes, and he's saying that? I mean, did you have a dropping feeling in your chest, like, oh, geez, like he's telling me something that is kind of
No,
embarrassing me, or?
no, he did a very genial, very genial. It was just a very lighthearted remark, but it was so deep that it penetrated.
Hmm.
So that was beautiful.
Hmm. Wow. What was?
Jeff, we missed that Mandalay time. So because I think always like if we would have grown up earlier, I always feel that we could have also got that Mandalay time. So I mean,
Yeah,
you guys
but
are fortunate, yeah, to come in the
as Eric
60s.
said, the Mondali and his close ones are back. So you're running into them whether you know it or not, and they have that inborn knowledge
But
of.
the same, is it like the same Rich we may not have? Like he might, I don't know if a Mandalay is around but the same qualities and the same presence and the same
Yeah.
effect and the same availability of them as Mandalay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe when those ones who are back get in their elder years, they'll be like sitting on the porch and like helping. They'll have a different air. Something will be different where they'll be inspiring the next generation in the way that the next generation understands information and receives information. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
But I also have this question, like once you have lived with the avatar and you had your time and you have served him, what is the motivation to come back? I mean, you go to a college, you study, then you get a job, you live a life. I mean, you have lived with the avatar, and that's it. And that longing is there, and that longing is only going to go on increasing. And I mean, when you have seen that intensity, I mean, you go here, you come here, you make money, you search for a job, you live a life. I mean, would it be hard to come back to that level again?
That's a great question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I mean, Baba is right here. He's not like way over there somewhere, so they can continue that very intimate life with Baba, and get indications of what he wants done, what he wants them to do. These are it's it's um it's a different type of intimacy, but it's the same. I mean, Baba is kind of eternally right there, and so it would be almost as if he sent you out on an errand somewhere, and you're up in Nagpur and you have to contact some people and everything, and he's not physically with you, but he's back at Merazad. It's almost that, that intimate, and it continues. But
You know,
here's
it's
a
like that
little
beautiful
thing.
story.
Huh?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, you just reminded me of that beautiful story, and that's how it was with Erich with the Buddha and it's right at the very end. Remember with the Buddha and what was his disciple's name?
Ananda.
Nanda? Oh.
Ananda, yeah, where
Ananda.
he sends him to get some water, and then
Mhm.
he ends up having a whole life and all that. And then he's like, "Where did you go? You're gone for 15 minutes." And then he was like,
Yeah.
he had lost and gained. And he just like went through the whole thing just to realize that he never really was that. He was just across the river the whole time. That's just that story really.
Yeah. The power of
Yeah,
Maya.
yeah,
The power of Maya. The time is illusion.
Yeah. His stories were, you never knew where they were going to go, but they were very deep stories.
yeah. What were you gonna say, Jeff? Sorry.
I kind of forgot. Let's see. No. But Telly, you got something there that, or Mayor Prasad or Buck, some kind of exchange with the Mandali that comes to mind?
Nothing in particular, but I think, one of the reasons that they come back is for helping other people.
Yeah.
Baba's work was universal, right? So it's not that they're coming back for themselves. It's really for, bringing everyone else into
Yeah.
their consciousness to be raised. And, Baba does some of that work internally, but there needs to be some external agent. And he did that when he was in the body too, where he sent different people to different areas, and that's how, most of Andhra, for example, it was Erut's contact with them that brought all of a majority of them. Similarly, Amirpur and other places. So when they come back, it's really for helping other people to bring
Yeah.
closer to Baba.
Yeah, here's I don't know if some of you have heard this story, but there's a guy named Charlie Gardner. He's a Baba lover from Athens, Georgia. Just to give you an idea of his type of antics. Like he's lived there for a long time, so he's very familiar with the what's going on in the area of Athens. And he heard that he would attend different things, and he heard that there was a KK rally, a Ku Klux Klan rally that was going on somewhere outside of Athens. And so he gets there, and they're the Grand Wizards, and they've got all of their robes and all of this stuff. And then there are all these people that are protesting. So there's like this very hostile environment of the Ku Klux Klan people with their robes. And I don't know, people from India may not know what the Ku Klux Klan is, but it's very white supremacist, racist thing that, prejudice toward the blacks and everything. So anyway, they have this rally that's going. And then there are all these protesters. And so there's this very hostile environment. And there's a stage, and people are, from the Ku Klux Klan are coming up and giving speeches and everything, little talks. And at one point, Charlie Gardner just kind of goes up and after one person leaves the stage, he goes up on the stage. And nobody knows that he's not supposed to be there. And he says, "Please bow your heads." So this is the South, so people are used to, prayer. He says, We repent, O God most merciful, for all our sins. And he recites the prayer of
Okay.
repentance
Oh my God.
right there in this huge hostile environment. And then afterwards he just walks off. And nobody got on his case. Nobody really realized it wasn't part of the program. So that's the way Charlie Gardner was. But anyway, this is something between him and Erich. He was in Mondley Hall. He'd come in earlier and he was with Erich. There was an exchange there. But then later on, the people from the bus came and everybody was sitting in Mondley Hall. And Erich looks over at Charlie and says, "I envy you, Charlie." And Charlie says, "You envy me? Why would you envy me? You spent your whole life with Baba. You served him. You were with him. I didn't even meet Baba." No, he says, "No, I envy you." He says, "How can you envy me?" And he said, "Years ago, I came through that threshold, that's the door of Mondley Hall, say, and Baba gave me a glass of wine. And I only have a few drops left in my glass. But he has just given you a full glass of wine. You know, my time is almost up." And he said, "I would come back 1,000 lifetimes, even as a mangy dog, just to be near him again. I would come back 1,000 lifetimes just to comb his hair one last time." So that's the way they were. You know. Yeah. He was that precious to be around.
For him, like it must be like the game of the lover and the beloved was almost getting over. So
Yeah. Yeah, and they want to hold off on the realization as long as they can, so that they can serve Baba, until they're totally wiped out. Yeah. And look at Balkauchuri. I mean, in and out of the hospital so much and everything, and months in a hospital, and he just endured. I said, "Bao, how are you feeling?" Privately, he said, I'm suffering from head to foot, nothing but pain. But yet he looked so, there was such a warm and loving, glowing atmosphere around him, even though he himself is in extreme pain. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something very sweet about hearing that from the Mandali or from some of those older generations that had spent time with Baba. Like, for example, as Fondi or somebody had asked him, what are some of the songs that you used to sing? And he was like in his quite elderly years, and he kind of tried to sing it, and then in a moment he kind of paused. And I even felt it through the video I was watching. It was actually that morning that I had just woken up, and he was the first person that came to mind. And so I said, I just have to find a video. I don't know any video. I just have to find it. And I turned this one on, and it's very loud pitched, and you could barely hear what he was saying. But he just paused, and I felt it through the video. There's just this kind of this heartbreak or this longing. And he just kind of said like, I miss those days. I miss those days. Or I miss singing with him. And it was like the whole room was stunned by that statement. It was such a simple statement, but even the translator were just like couldn't even talk. He was like just stunned by the amount of that longing and that that force of love, that focus, even in that moment, just very, very pristine focus that Esfandiar had of Baba, and just that heartbreak was just very, very poignant, very beautiful moment. Yeah, even as a mangy dog, huh?
What's that?
Even as a mangy dog, that's what Eric said. Yeah.
No, it's I'm gonna see if I can find something here.
Mm.
Shoot. Huh.
Jeff, I can, oh,
Go ahead. Yeah.
well, I just have been reading All Things Take Time, Mister, the new book on Padre that was comprised by Erico. And what Alan was just talking about, Esfandiar, there's a piece in here where Esfandiar and his wife came back, and Erich was greeting him, and they were, and also he actually sat with Muhammad too. And I don't know if people have read this book. It's on page 42 and 43, but there's a beautiful description about the experiences that they weren't interested in the subtle or mental, none of the subtle world or anything. All that really mattered, this is at the end, for the most magnificent miracle of all, the love of the divine beloved showers upon us, defies any description. But we know something about it because we feel it. And that is as it should be. The experiences of the inner planes are also nothing. They too are not real. Only his love for us is real. Only his love for us matters. And so when you were talking about the state of Esfandiar, Alan, when you were talking about that interview, over and over, you hear that. We've heard that from the Mandali over and over, that their fragrance and being in his presence was so exquisite. And I mean, we would feel it from the Mandali, but I can't even imagine what they would. And this is actually a very, very delightful book. It's a very sweet little composite of some of the stories that Erico was saving before he left. And they put together, and there's some very comical stuff in here too about being with Padres. So I recommend it highly. It's a delightful read. And
what is that book called?
It's called All Things Take Time, Mister, because Padre would often refer to the pilgrims as Mister. And Erico, it's by Eric Nadel. It's his wife and Alan and Ted Jetson and Janet and them went and looked at all the notes he had and just made a composite of some of the stories. He was eventually going to write a book, but he didn't live long enough to do that. And but it's delightful, and there's some great insight to the character of Padre, and also about Padre's ability to recognize the nobility of God in human form, actually the highest of the high, and really the respect he had, even when he argued and had fights with Baba, he still had the language of absolute respect and honoring for the highest of the high. Even in his swearing, there's some great, wonderful comical stuff in here about that. That's just charming. So that's a little segue in there, but it's fun.
Wow.
I'll have to read that. I feel very close to Padre.
Yeah, he took me under for a woman. He was very sweet, and I spent, he offered me a lot of gifts in presence and time. And when he died, I was there, and
wow.
And we were all at Marazad having tea with Mara, actually, and the word came in that Padre had died. And so immediately we all leave and come back on the bus. And I'm sure you might know this story, but they didn't have a casket big enough. So they had to, of course, make one that day. And they put him in the Rahuri cabin at Lower Maribot, and we were allowed to go. They were chanting and singing, and everybody had a chance to say goodbye to Padre. And it was a very, very touching scene to see such a remarkable man say yours truly and then just leave in a matter of seconds as he's dictating a letter. And so when I got there, I really wanted to apologize to Padre. And I also wanted to kiss him on his cheeks. He was compacted in ice and he was there. And so there was all this personal ego stuff that I was trying to figure out how to do around Padre. But the experience was, he was just up there laughing at me. It was hysterical. I could feel his presence. I could feel him free and laughing and joyous. And of course I was crying and everybody was crying, but the pilgrims and the women and things, but it was a beautiful experience. And he was quite a stalwart of a soul, incredible soul, beautiful. So anyway.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing that.
Yeah, Baba said that he and Pendu would be perfect masters in their next life.
Wow.
Yep.
So he said to Eric Edmond, he said to Pani, he said to Padre, he said to Pendu. So
yeah.
we know four of them now. Four of the perfect masters of the future.
He is the king and I am the slave. I do whatever he says. If he tells me to pick up that rock and eat it, I will eat it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they know that everything Baba does is of the highest love.
Yeah.
So this book has some never read material, right? So it's a unique material.
This is a new book. It's very nice.
I just ordered it and it just came out. I don't think it's been out a month, right?
Yeah, and I don't know when it will reach India, so it will take some time.
All things take time, mister.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Fabulous. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, there's still, I watched those
some of you have heard this, but while we're on the subject of Padre, Balkal Shura used to say there are three kinds of people. I think he may have gotten it from Baba. There are three kinds of people. One is a peach. It's soft on the outside, but there's a pit in the middle. Then there's a nut that's hard on the outside, but soft in the middle. And then there's a grape that's soft on the outside and soft in the middle. So Erich and Mani, you might say, are like grapes, soft on the outside and soft on the inside. But Padre was like a nut, hard on the outside and soft on the inside. So anyway, this guy travels overland to India. And he arrives at Maribot. He's all disheveled, not, his hair is kind of ratty, his clothes are terrible. And he comes down to Lower Maribot and he says, "Where is the tomb of the Avatar?" And Tom Fortson says, "Well, it's up the hill there. You just go up the hill." So he takes off, but then Tom Fortson, says, "Oh, I'll accompany you." So they start they're starting up the hill to Baba's tomb, and coming down the hill is this, very striking figure of Padre, all dressed in white, and he gets about 20 feet from this guy, and Padre says, "Is this the way you dress when you come to the tomb of the Avatar?" And the guy says, "I don't let anybody tell me how I dress when I come to the tomb of the Avatar." Padre looks over at Tom and says, "I like this guy." So there it is. That's the way he was. He knew when to go soft. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hearing some construction going on.
Is there?
I don't know. I was hearing some banging, some tools or something. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if-
Yeah. Any other? Jaisimha, anything that anything on your plate?
I think like to listen to you and all, Jeff. And I enjoy conversations.
Well, this is potluck, you know. Let's see. I wonder if Payam has got anything.
Oh, hold on. I'm coming.
Hold on.
I'm cleaning the kitchen and
Uh-huh.
enjoying these wonderful conversations.
Yeah.
And I have to say that it's been a beautiful weekend. We had the Iranian community is doing Zooms now, and Dr. Shafa in Farsi. So a lot of the Farsi speaking folks who maybe have limited English, and even some Baba lovers from Iran are joining. It's just incredible. And we had I didn't, I was listening to beautiful sharings about Esfandiar because his anniversary was November 26, 28, something like that. Or maybe it was Thanksgiving Day. Anyways, so it was so touching. And I heard some of you mention Esfandiar. You know, people like the Mandali and Esfandiar are kind of like, I guess for me, lamppost, you know, of how maybe we can aspire in some way and get a glimpse of their love for Baba. And they're all such different personalities, and you know, Baba is infinite, so his attributes are infinite, and we get a glimpse, I feel, in some of them. So an Esfandiar story I'll just share.
Yeah.
So later on in his life, he came to America, and Shireen Vahidi, whom some of you know, was his kind of caretaker. And they had known each other. Sorry, you're hearing my sink. Let me move over. So every Friday night, we would join him at Shireen's home, and he would guide us in meditation. And this is what he shared. And I'll just repeat it because I had forgotten about this. So his method of meditation was to image Baba in your mind's eye, third eye. And he said, Dar dil va ba dil. So dil in Farsi is like the bottom of your heart, in like your, how can I explain? It's not the heart. It's like from your gut, from your like deep gut. So dardil means like within the del, like in the bottom, in the gut of your heart, love Baba. And so dardil vabadil. And with the, like within the gut of your heart, give love. It's like two ways. You feel them within, and so dardil vabadil. So we would meditate, and you know, I was young. My mind was constantly active. I couldn't really meditate, but I just liked being in his presence. And one time I went up to him and I said, Esfandiar, I get angry so much. How can I calm my anger? And he just looked at me and he says, why don't you drink a glass of water? Every time you get angry, just drink a glass of water. So I had forgotten about that. I'm going to start doing that. And maybe all it does is to give me a pause and not speak. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it was just,
Yeah.
so it's been a wonderful weekend of remembering Esfandiar and just remembering the beautiful being that he was. He emanated so much love. So like many of the Mandalia, all of the Mandalia, I mean, all of them
Yeah.
that I met. And it was yeah.
Was Azita there?
Azita came today. How do you know?
No, I was just wondering. Yeah. Huh.
So Azita, you mean when Esfandiar was here, or are you talking about now, today?
Now, yeah.
She was here earlier today. And you know, Will David's visiting Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So every year when he comes, he sleeps outside in the yard, but it's cold now. But anyways, we have a nice place for him. And he, as you know, I call him Baba's ambassador. He connects people, and tries to help in his way. And Azita, of course, I didn't know until today that she was here. So she came and we had a wonderful time.
Good. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
say hello to her. Yeah.
I will.
Azita was that worked as a caretaker for about 10 years on the center. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that deep in your heart? Feel Baba and then give love?
So the exact words I'm going to say in Farsi, and then I'm going to try to translate it.
It might be the heart of hearts. The term, the heart of hearts. The del. Yeah.
Del. So dardel vabadel. Feel it within. Dar means within. Del is del. Dar with del, within the del, I should say. Vabadel. And with your heart. It's like within and without is how I'm translating it. But there's a beautiful talk by Farshid about 3 months ago, sometime I think August. It's on YouTube. And it's a beautiful sharing. You know, Farshid, of course, knew Esfandiar for a long time and helped translate many of his talks. So he shares a lot of things in that beautiful YouTube if you have a chance to watch it. Yeah.
I am one thing.
Yes.
I had this one prayer for meditation which Esfandiar had given. I just want to read it out because I found it somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, good.
So it says the one that Esfandiar gave is, I'm not this physical body. I'm not this flesh. I'm not the pains and the pleasures associated with my physical form. I'm not my subtle body. I'm not my feelings. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my mental body. I am not my thoughts. I'm not my desires. I am soul. I am soul, free from my physical body, free from my subtle body, and free from my mental body. I am a soul one with the divine soul. Beloved Meher Baba, you who are one with my soul, I love you. I love you in my inner heart. I love you, Meher Baba. I love you. Please reveal your true self to me so I can see you as who you really are. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba. So,
wow.
it was given by Isfandiar. So this was given as a prayer for some meditation at some, I don't know, I had found it somewhere and I'd kept it so that it's like I liked it. It was very touching and deep and profound.
That is profound. So beautiful.
Yeah, Baba, a quote we came across, in the last year was where Baba says, feelings and emotions are the creation of mind and energy. Love is the creation of the soul. So he's speaking to that, to get beyond feelings and emotions and the body and get to the love in the soul. He when he first came to the center, he used the term going into a state of meditation, but we found that the better word for it in the English language was a state of communion with Baba.
Yes.
And he said
Yes.
that in order to do
Yes.
that, to go into that state of communion with Baba, he had to leave his mind at the threshold. And he would go into this inner realm, and he would see the, if there was no form, it would be the ocean of divine love that he would experience. But if form came into the picture, every form was Baba. So he was going from form to formless in that state of communion with Baba. So, not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
But you had to leave your mind
Mhm.
at the threshold, and consciousness would go into the inner realm. Unplug consciousness, awareness from the mind, and let awareness go in through the door.
He said something else in this talk that I can't remember which talk, but Farshid, I think, was sharing this. And he gave the analogy Esfandiar. And this goes to the effort and grace part, which is, imagine, like Baba lives in this house in the neighborhood, and you're walking by, and you know that it's God's house, and the door is closed there, and you're passing by. Wouldn't it behoove you to go up to the door and knock? Don't just know that God is there. At least go up to the door and knock. Let him know so he can open the door. Like, wow.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
mm-hmm.
love can't coerce, He can't go and drag you in. He, even with all of his infinite knowledge and power, he can't force you into the house. It has to come from within you.
Yes.
There's a line Baba says, love is a gift from God to lover.
Mm-hmm.
Obedience is a gift from master love is a gift from God to man.
Yes.
Obedience is a gift from master to man. Surrender is a gift from man to master. Yes. So we have to, the last stage, we got to do something. We can't just have Baba spoon feed us and then require him to swallow as well. We got to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, well, we're getting up to, unless there's anything else, we're getting up to midnight in this part of the country.
Yeah.
Alan,
I think it was a very good session today.
Thank you, Payam. That's great to remember
Yes.
Esfandiar. What a soul he was. Oh.
Yeah.
I describe to be in a room with Esfandiar, my experience was everything was stopped, and I could stay there I could have stayed there for years, because the sanskaras, there were no sanskaras. He neutralizes all your sanskaras so that you're not saying, oh, I should go ahead and do this, or I got to go do that. All of that was stopped, and you could just be for as long as he was there. And when he would leave, then suddenly your sanskaras would start up.
Yes. He was that frozen lake, be still as a frozen lake.
Yeah.
That was Esfandiar.
Yeah.
And at the end of his life, I know the time is finishing. He had so many ailments. So my father would help him to go to the doctors here and would help train.
Well, we lost you.
Condition, kind of like a Bauji. It's an amazement that they're alive, and you wouldn't even know it because he didn't complain, and the doctors would just be so touched by just being in the room with him. There are many beautiful stories my dad would share of just how touched the doctors were to be in the room with him.
Yeah.
So he was, yeah.
Harmonized all the way from the top down to the street level. Such powerful harmonized being he was.
Yes.
He wasn't kind of in a transcendent up there. You had a feeling he was right in the present moment. So profoundly harmonized. It was truly beautiful. Hey, well, I guess you anything else, Payam?
No, that's it. These are wonderful sessions. Thank you all, everyone.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Is that your mom there? It says Nasreen Mera. Is that your mom?
I don't have any idea who put Mera after my name.
That's your mom.
Yes, it's me.
That voice just delights me. We have to clone that voice.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
I can speak for you anytime you want.
Yeah, beautiful. What a voice. It's like a young child.
I know.
So, Dinku, you're Rosalie. Is Rosalie around?
So,
yes, I'm here.
Okay. Well, we're and guess we'll close the shop here. VJ's gone to sleep. We put him. Kelly is heading out. See you guys.
Thank
you, Jeff.
The next
Lovely
time is
session.
Tuesday.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, everyone.
Great to see you, Sarah.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. Yasmin.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai
Yeah.
Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba.
Meher Baba ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Ki jai. Tar Meher Baba ki
Ki jai.
Okay.